King Charles III, once the Prince of Wales, now the sovereign of a multi-billion-pound realm. But behind the crown lies jaw-dropping spending, hidden estates, and a personal fortune that's pushing into the stratosphere. Today, King Charles spends his billions. Is insane. Let's dig in. Smash that like button, subscribe, hit bell. Let's go. Here's where things get tricky. Because when you see the king surrounded by gold, palaces, and priceless art, it's easy to think, wow, he must own all of that. But in reality, a lot of it isn't his. The British monarchy has a strange financial split. Some assets belong to the crown estate. Technically the state, not the man. That includes Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, the crown jewels, and even huge chunks of land and coastal seabeds. Charles gets to use them, but he can't sell them or personally cash out. What he does personally own, though, is still jaw-dropping. As of 2025, estimates of his private fortune range from £600 million to nearly £2 billion. That includes investments, artworks, and vast tract of land passed down through generations. When Queen Elizabeth passed, he inherited private estates like Sandringham House and Balmoral Castle, both entirely his. He's also inherited one of the most valuable private art collections in Europe: paintings, tapestries, rare furniture, and collectibles worth hundreds of millions. The kicker? Most of it is exempt from inheritance tax, thanks to royal exemptions. So while everyday Brits pay up to 40% in inheritance tax, Charles paid zero. That alone fuels massive public debate. So, while he may not own Buckingham Palace, his personal empire, property, art, and land still makes him one of the richest heads of state in the world. Charles's wealth doesn't just sit there, it grows. And it grows fast. Let's break down the three major money engines behind his fortune. First, the Duchy of Lancaster, a private portfolio that dates back to the 13th century. It's like the royal family's version of a private investment trust. The duchy owns farms, urban real estate, and commercial developments across England and Wales. In 2025, it generated over £26 million in surplus income for the king personally. That's tax-free pocket change every year. Then there's a sovereign grant, funded to the Crown Estate, which manages royal lands and commercial holdings on behalf of the nation. The profits go to the government, and a percentage, currently around 12%, comes back to the royal household to fund official duties. In 2025, that meant about £132 million went toward maintaining royal operations, staff salaries, and property upkeep. Add in personal investments, like shares, hedge funds, and private equity, and you start to see the layers. Some of those investments are shrouded in secrecy. Journalists have uncovered offshore holdings through leaks like the Paradise Papers, where Charles's duchy invested in carbon credit firms. And of course, there's inheritance. He gained hundreds of millions after Queen Elizabeth's passing, thanks to a unique tax loophole that shields monarch-to-monarch transfers. Most billionaires would envy that setup. Together, these income streams keep Charles's fortune flowing even when the public sees him as merely a ceremonial figure. So, where does all that royal cash go? The answer: everywhere. First, let's talk Buckingham Palace. The 775-room mega mansion is undergoing a decade-long restoration project with a price tag north of £369 million. From rewiring 1950s electrics to replacing ancient plumbing, it's an enormous bill paid largely by the sovereign grant. Critics call it royal overindulgence. Supporters say it's preserving national heritage. Either way, it's a staggering renovation. Then there was a coronation, a glittering spectacle estimated between £100 million and £250 million, depending on what you count. Diamonds, gold carriages, military parades, and bespoke robes. It was a display of old-world opulence in a time when ordinary Britons were struggling with soaring inflation. Charles also dropped millions on land and privacy buys, like the $3.8 million property he purchased next to Queen Camilla's holiday home, just to prevent prying eyes. His staff maintained dozens of estates, each with full-time gardeners, chefs, cleaners, and security. And don't forget the smaller, splurges fleets of luxury cars, some converted to run on bioethanol, historic carriage maintenance, and massive annual garden parties that cost hundreds of thousands a host. Every detail, from the king's ceremonial outfits to his royal bees, yes bees, costs money and plenty of it. It's not just luxury. It's a lifestyle designed to showcase Britain's grandeur, even when the bill looks outrageous. The public reaction? Explosive. Critics say the king's spending is tone-deaf. Britain's cost of living crisis is crushing households, and at the same time, royal budgets are ballooning. Newspapers and watchdogs routinely publish breakdowns showing how taxpayer money props up palace operations, calling it welfare for the wealthy. Some MPs have even pushed for audits, arguing that royal finances are too secretive and outdated for a modern democracy. The Guardian's 2023 investigation estimated Charles's private fortune at nearly £2 billion, sparking outrage that the monarchy enjoys massive privilege with minimal oversight. But defenders hit back hard. They argue the monarchy brings in billions in tourism, diplomatic soft power, and global prestige. The royal brand fuels everything from merchandise sales to global interest in British culture. Charles himself has cut costs by slimming down the working royal family and opening estates to paying visitors. And he does make symbolic gestures, paying voluntary taxes, promoting sustainability, and even turning palace gardens into eco-projects. He's passionate about climate change, organic farming, and reducing waste, although critics call that greenwashing for the gilded elite. So, the argument splits Britain. Is King Charles an out-of-touch billionaire or a custodian of heritage doing his duty? The truth probably lives somewhere between opulence and obligation. A royal trying to modernize an ancient institution while still living like, well, a king. Let's be real. Calling it insane spending is catchy, but what's too much when you're literally the monarch? On one hand, these numbers are astronomical. Hundreds of millions for ceremonies, renovations, and estates during an economic downturn. Look bad. On the other hand, much of it is tied to tradition, protocol, and the machine that keeps the crown functioning. Charles's personal net worth puts in the same league as Elon Musk's chauffeurs, not Musk himself. Still, for a head of state, it's enormous. His wealth has grown faster than the UK's GDP per capita, and that's why people notice. There's also the issue of liquidity. A huge portion of his wealth is land, not something you can just sell. That creates an illusion of endless money, even though much is locked up in heritage estates that legally can't be offloaded. So King Charles spends his billions. Is it insane? Perhaps. But it's also deeply entrenched in centuries of royal tradition, legal constructs, and public expectations. What we are sure of, these figures demand attention. These spending choices matter. What do you think? Is it fair, or is the monarchy living in another era altogether? Drop a comment below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.